Hello all my friends. What if I told you that the Snyderverse will be restored, but not in a way that you think? Now we can all agree that Zack Snyder's Man of Steel trilogy is an undeniable masterpiece. I loved every bit of all the three movies. Everything about those movies was so iconic. The larger-than-life storylines, the amazing cinematography, the colors, the characters and the awesome costumes. But as of right now, as much as I loved those movies, it really hurts me saying this, but I think we must accept the fact that the original Snyderverse, or let us say that the original idea that Zack had regarding the DCEU has in fact ended and concluded with Zack Snyder's Justice League. There is not going to be a Justice League 2, or Justice League 3 within that same continuity. But wait a minute. Do not beat me up just yet. What if I told you that the original Snyderverse, starting with the Man of Steel trilogy, has ended with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and now we are going to get a new DC live-action cinematic universe, which will again be directed and headed by Zack Snyder himself. And there is a great chance that this is actually the plan behind the scenes at Warner Bros. Discovery. This is exactly what I am going to talk about in this video. I am going to explain it to you in detail as to why I think that this is in fact the plan of Warner Bros. Discovery, and I am going to back myself up with facts. Now, ever since we got Zack Snyder's Justice League in March last year, DC fans have been asking for more and more of the Snyderverse. And to be very honest with you, I am also one of those fans. However, there has been little to no hint at all from the officials at Warner Bros. Of ever restoring Zack's vision. DC and Warner Bros. At the moment are largely focusing on standalone self-contained storylines. However, things seems to have changed quite a bit since March of this year, after Warner Bros. Entered into a merger with Discovery. Now the studio is known collectively as Warner Bros. Discovery and is headed by CEO David Zaslav. Now, as per different news reports, scoopers and articles, it is believed that David Zaslav is a big fan of Zack's vision himself. Just a few days ago, we got an official announcement from Warner Bros. Themselves that Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to get a digital release on July 19th. Now this is a really significant incident. In fact, it is much more significant than any of you might think. This announcement is the first official promotion of the Snyderverse by the studio Warner Bros. Themselves after 2017. So, it definitely goes on to prove the reports at least to some degree that David Zaslav is indeed a fan of Zack's vision, and is definitely not straight out ignoring its presence like the previous management. So, does it mean that the Snyderverse is going to be restored? Does it mean that we are going to get the Batfleck movie? Does it mean that we are getting Man of Steel 2? Well, the answer to these questions are not as simple as you might think. In fact, they are very complicated. To be honest, DC has been doing really well after the controversial release of Justice League 2017, which, as we all know, is one of the worst movies DC and WB has ever put out. Except Wonder Woman 1984 maybe. Every single DC project that came out after Justice League 2017 has been good at the very minimum. Warner Bros. Have also produced a couple of Elseworlds projects, namely The Batman and Joker, both of which turned out to be huge commercial and critical successes. In fact, Joker is now the most profitable comic book movie and the highest grossing R-rated movie, earning over $1 billion at the box office. Not only that, Joaquin Phoenix also earned the Oscar for the Best Actor for his performance as the Clown Prince of Crime. Aquaman became the highest-grossing DC movie ever, earning $1.14 billion at the box office. The inaugural season of Peacemaker was a huge commercial as well as critical success. It is now the highest-rated DCEU project, surpassing Wonder Woman 2017, and also shattering several viewership records. The upcoming slate of DC movies look very promising, to say the least. So, DC is clearly in a good state right now. They are in a far better position as compared to the position they were in when Zack Snyder took charge of the DCEU back in 2013 with Man of Steel. However, even though all the recent movies of DCEU have performed better, these movies are mostly self-contained standalone movies with almost no cameos of characters from the other movies. We can take for example some of the recent examples like Wonder Woman 1984, The Suicide Squad, or the Shazam movie. All of these movies were largely standalone. You do not need to watch any other movies of DCEU to understand them. There is literally nothing connecting these movies. So while the DCEU have improved on the quality aspect of their movies, they have absolutely failed in giving us an interconnected cinematic universe like the MCU. So, one hand, DC is giving us great contents for the last 3 to 4 years, and on the other hand, it is also struggling to give the fans the successful cohesive interconnected universe something like the MCU. To be very honest with you, as a fan I feel, no matter how good standalone movies Warner Brothers give us, no matter how many Oscars those movies win, but you do not run a huge franchise like DC with all these awesome characters without an interconnected cinematic universe. In this day and age, fans love the idea of a shared cinematic universe. We can take the example of the MCU. We observe that even the worst MCU movies make more money at the box office than some of the best movies ever made in the same year. Captain Marvel, even after being one of the most boring MCU movies, managed to cross over $1 billion, while The Batman, which released in March this year, failed to do so by a huge margin even after being a huge critical success. It is even more surprising because Batman is one of the most popular characters in history, while Captain Marvel is not even known to most of the people outside of the MCU. So, we can clearly see the impact of a shared cinematic universe on the box office collection. And I feel that the best person right now, who can bring together all the awesome characters within the DC universe together, and give us a good interconnected universe, is none other than Zack Snyder. So, the big question is, would Warner Brothers Discovery want to so drastically change their winning formula, and get back to Zack Snyder and allow him to complete his vision? In other words, will Warner Brothers even think of restoring the Snyderverse, when they are performing so well commercially and critically? Now, statistically, even though some of Zack Snyder's earlier movies failed to make an impact at the box office like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, which released on HBO Max last year after fans demanding its release for 4 years, was in fact a huge success. It was the most streamed movie across any OTT platform of 2021. Also, it made record-breaking Blu-ray sales. I am sure David Zaslav has observed all this, and he knows very well how big of an asset is Zack Snyder if given the right creative freedom. I am sure David Zaslav understands that as DC fans, we need to see the Justice League on the big screen more often. Do not get me wrong, I love standalone movies. They are great. But just standalone movies is not going to be enough for any DC fan in a day and age where the MCU has become the biggest franchise in the world. All I am saying is, as a fan, I want to see both of these things. I have no problem with standalone movies. Warner Brothers can make as many standalone, R-rated, Oscar-winning movies as they want. And I am sure that is the case with most of my viewers, as well as most of the DC fans. We want real world-based standalone dark gritty movies like The Batman and Joker 2019, as well as a big cohesive interconnected universe like the MCU. And I am sure David Zaslav wants the same as well. If reports are to be believed, David Zaslav is really serious on developing an MCU-styled interconnected shared cinematic universe for DC. It was reported about a month ago by Variety that David Zaslav wants a leader like Kevin to oversee all of the upcoming DCEU projects. What if that leader somehow turns out to be Zack Snyder himself? Never mind. We would talk about it later. So, the question now is, how does David Zaslav and his team do this? Look, my friends, realistically speaking, it is highly unlikely that the Snyderverse is going to get restored exactly like it was back in 2017. A lot of things have changed behind the scenes. Actors have changed, the tone of the movies have changed, the approach of the higher officials and crew members have changed completely. So, it is almost impossible to take DCEU back into Zack's vision, when it is so far out, unless the Snyderverse is to be restored as a separate cinematic universe. The Snyderverse can indeed be restored to its original vision using the concept of multiverse, if it is treated as a separate timeline, and we can get Justice League 2 and Justice League 3, just like we imagined them. However, this approach is not as simple as you might imagine. This will create a lot of problem. For example, if we look at the characters like Superman, Wonder Woman and Aquaman. These characters would have to play two different versions of their characters in two separate timelines, and not to mention, they would have to work under two different creatives, with completely different vision and approach. This will not only be very tough for the actors, but also create a lot confusion among the general audience. Imagine Henry Cavill playing the same character of Clark, aka Superman, but two different versions of Superman, in two different cinematic universes at the same time. So, that would mean that DC and WB would lose a lot of their followers and fans, because people honestly would not be able to follow such a mess. This would mean a loss of money for Warner Bros. Discovery, and I am sure David Zaslav would not want that to happen. So, the solution for David Zaslav and DCEU lies in optimizing both the current timeline and the Snyderverse in such a way that we get the best of both worlds. The solution is to have both Man of Steel 2 and a Batfleck vs. Deathstroke movie, and a light-hearted goofy Peacemaker exist within the same cinematic universe. We can even have as many standalone Elseworlds, R-rated, dark, gritty movies as we want. In this way, there will be no confusion among the general audience. And I think even Warner Bros. Discovery wants the same as well. They have in fact already started working on their plans. I am going to prove it to you. If inside reports are to be believed, David Zaslav is said to be a huge fan of Henry Cavill's version of Superman, and he wants to make Superman the focal point of all upcoming DC projects and scrap all the current Superman projects in development. He also stated that he wants Batman and Superman to be the main IPs of the DCEU going forward. And with the latest digital release of Zack Snyder's Justice League further proves my point. It seems as if David wants to waste no time in bringing back Superman on the big screen once again. Superman is already rumored to have a cameo in Black Adam if reports from credible sources are to be believed. So far, he is only stated to have a cameo where his face would be hidden, just like his cameo in Shazam 2019. Now, personally, I am both happy as well as sad at the same time upon reading this report. I am happy because Warner Bros. Discovery is at least acknowledging the presence of Superman rather than just straight out ignoring his presence. It also means that Superman is going to have a role to play in the future of DC movies going forward. As I already mentioned, it is widely reported that David Zaslav wants to make Superman the focal point of all the upcoming DCEU projects. So, I feel his cameo in Black Adam could be the first step towards that. And we must also not forget all the cryptic tweets from Zack himself on his Vero account. It is well known to all my viewers that the man does not post anything without any kind of payoff. Now, some of you might ask about the Batman situation. It is widely believed by now that Michael Keaton will replace Ben Affleck as Batman in the Flash movie, and in fact he is going to be our Dark Knight for all the upcoming DC movies. But this was the plan before the merger happened. After the completion of the Discovery merger, the Flash movie was delayed for almost 9 months. In my personal opinion, this was done deliberately by the new management to rewrite some elements from the script to keep the door open for Ben Affleck to return as Batman in future. It was also widely speculated that Ben Affleck's Batman would actually die off at the end of the movie. But I think that has definitely changed as of now with the new merger in place. I even have this tweet from Grace Randolph to back myself up. As you can see, in her tweet, from March of this year, she says that Ben Affleck's Batman does not die after all at the end of the movie. So, what I think is that Michael Keaton will only play the role of Batman only until the time the Snyderverse is restored. As you might know, that Zack Snyder is currently busy with his Netflix projects. And it is very likely that he will be busy with Netflix for the next couple of years. And I am sure, whenever Zack returns, Ben Affleck will return as well. So, until the time that Affleck and Snyder return to their roles, Michael Keaton can play the role of stand-in substitute Batman. Now, a lot of people, especially fans of the Snyderverse, hate the choice of Michael Keaton as the main DCEU Batman. They obviously are not a fan of a Batman who is 70 years old and is even older than Commissioner Gordon. But the thing is, I feel that having Michael Keaton as the main DCEU Batman is actually not a bad thing. With all due respect to Mr. Keaton, I feel that he is too old to play Batman till the distant future. I think what Warner Bros. Discovery needs to do is have him play the role of an older Bruce Wayne and set up a Batman Beyond movie. The Batgirl movie starring Leslie Grace should take place in an entirely different universe as the main DCEU. He just needs to play a mentor-type old Bruce Wayne who passes on his mantle to some other members like Batgirl and Terry McGinnis, aka Batman Beyond. That way, we could have 3 different universes, a Bat family-focused universe where we have an old retired Bruce Wayne mentoring his other Bat family members like Batgirl and Batman Beyond, the Snyderverse where Batman is played by Ben Affleck, and we have all the exciting adventures of Justice League. We also get the highly anticipated Batfleck vs. Deathstroke movie. And we also have another Batman universe headed by Matt Reeves, which is grounded and focused on reality, where Robert Pattinson plays the Dark Knight. In that way, there would be no confusion among the general audiences. So, I honestly hope that is what happens. To summarize, I think the Snyderverse will be restored, but the original vision would have to be dropped. We will get an entirely new DCEU after the Flash movie, which is going to have different elements within it. We will have the dark, gritty and cinematic Snyderverse, as well as light, colorful movies like Peacemaker and The Suicide Squad existing within the same universe. We can have the brilliance of James Gunn and the extraordinary talent of Zack Snyder exist under one umbrella. I think David Zaslav is going to start everything from scratch once again, probably with a new Superman movie, which I believe would be announced soon. But as I said, we would have to wait till Zack is done with his Netflix projects. I personally hope that this is the direction that Warner Bros. Take with their upcoming DC projects. If this is the route that the DCEU takes, I would be very pleased and happy, because I am someone who enjoys both the Snyderverse and the colorful, light-hearted brilliance of James Gunn movies. I think the DC universe is so large that you cannot incorporate everything under just one director's vision. There are goofy, light-hearted characters who are meant to be taken like jokes like Peacemaker, King Shark, or even Harley Quinn to some degree, and we have iconic characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, or the Joker who need the dedicated vision of a talented director like Zack Snyder. So, in order to create a large interconnected cinematic universe, you need to have room for all these characters to exist together within their own bubble. This is something that Marvel has been doing so successfully for the last 14 years. Even if the general tone within the MCU is light-hearted and colorful, we have had serious dark movies like Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, The Incredible Hulk movie, as well as light-hearted goofy movies like The Guardians of the Galaxy, or Thor: Love and Thunder. To be honest, the MCU has not been at their best since the start of Phase 4. A lot of their recent projects seems pretty generic and boring, especially some of the Disney Plus shows. So, I feel that this is the right time for DC and Warner Bros. Discovery to start off their proper live-action cinematic universe, which I would call Snyderverse 2.0. So, that is all I have to say in this video. What do you think of this whole idea? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please do not forget to like it, share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.